The morning sun slipped through the curtains, the way it always did, soft, warm, certain, and Evelyn Hart woke the same way she had for 12 beautiful years, by reaching across the bed for the man she loved more than anything. "Happy anniversary," Daniel whispered, voice still thick with sleep, and she smiled, because with him, life always felt gentle. Their morning was simple burnt toast, over buttered eggs, his terrible coffee. But to them, it was perfect. Daniel danced around the kitchen, a man who didn't care how ridiculous he looked. And Evelyn laughed, because he was her safe place, her home. The whole day felt like a love letter. Grocery aisles, inside jokes, stolen glances. 12 years in, and somehow, they were still choosing each other. That night, they celebrated on the living room floor, surrounded by flickering candles. And Daniel, being Daniel, couldn't wait for the right moment. He revealed a small worn box, something he'd been hiding all day. Inside was a silver bracelet with her initials, EH. She whispered, "It's beautiful," and he smiled, ready with a compliment she'd heard 100 times. But he never finished the sentence. His hand suddenly clutched his chest. His breath broke. The room spun. "Daniel," she asked once, then twice, then screaming. He collapsed in front of her. The cake fell. The candles shook in their flames, and the world began to crumble. The hospital was a blur of alarms and rushing feet. Evelyn held his hand, refusing to let go. "There's something I never told you," he whispered, breath fading. "Forgive me." And then, the monitor flatlined. Evelyn's scream echoed through the halls. Later, when the world softened just enough for her to breathe again, a nurse approached her quietly. "Mrs. Hart." This was found in his jacket. A small leather notebook, dark brown, edges worn from years of secrets. "For you, when I'm gone." Her hands trembled as she opened it. On the first page, a name, a woman's name, not hers. And in that moment, with tears still wet on her face, one question shattered what was left of her world. "Who are you?" The diary didn't answer. It only waited. At first she thought grief was playing tricks on her, twisting letters, distorting meaning. But the handwriting was Daniel's, the same careful curves he used in love notes, grocery lists, and birthday messages. Except this message wasn't for her. She whispered the name aloud, "Amelia," and the sound of it tasted like betrayal. Page after page revealed a truth she had never known. Entries written with a tenderness she had never seen. Entries about silence, promises, and a love that had lived in the shadows for 6 long years. Evelyn's chest tightened. This wasn't just mourning, it was devotion. A devotion that had never included her. Back home, every room felt staged, like her marriage had been a set built around a lie. She searched every drawer, every box, every forgotten corner, desperate for answers, but nothing explained Amelia until she found the envelope hidden behind Daniel's shirts. Inside it, a woman's face, beautiful, alive, someone Evelyn had never seen. And behind the photo, a phone number. Her hands shook as she called it. A man answered, deep voice, cold, and the moment she said the name Amelia, everything changed. He told her she shouldn't have found the number, told her to stop digging, told her some truths bring no peace, then ended the call. But Evelyn couldn't stop now, not after discovering how deeply Daniel had mourned a woman she never even knew existed, a woman he wrote to, a woman he loved, a woman he never let go of. With shaking hands, she held the diary to her chest. 12 years of marriage suddenly felt like borrowed time. 12 years spent living beside a ghost she never knew haunted them. As dawn broke, she grabbed her coat, the diary, and Amelia's photograph. If her husband had spent 12 years writing to another woman, then Evelyn needed to know who that woman truly was, even if she was long dead. The city looked different when your heart was breaking. Every street lamp felt harsh, every sound too sharp, every silence too deep. And as Evelyn Hart stood outside St. Clair's long-term care facility, clutching the photograph of a woman she had never met, she realized she was stepping into a truth her husband never meant her to find. Inside, the air smelled like disinfectants and fading hope. A nurse at the reception looked up, warm but tired. When Evelyn placed the photograph on the counter, the nurse's face softened instantly, as if she'd been waiting for this moment. "Oh," she said gently, "you're here for Amelia." That name again. That name her husband had whispered in secret pages. When Evelyn asked how long Amelia had been here, the answer hollowed her out. 13 years. 13 years. Longer than Evelyn's entire marriage. The hallway felt endless as the nurse guided her forward. Each door they passed seemed to hold a story suspended between life and silence, but none of them prepared her for room 27. The door opened, and Evelyn's world broke a second time. Amelia was alive, not living, but alive, peaceful, still, breathing softly, as if sleeping through years. Machines hummed around her like mechanical ghosts. Her face was older than the photograph, but unmistakable, beautiful, untouched, unreachable. Evelyn's heart pounded. What happened to her? She whispered. The nurse sighed gently, pulling the blanket near Amelia's shoulder. A car accident. She was with her fiancé. He survived. She didn't. Evelyn felt her throat close. My husband. The nurse nodded. Daniel Hart, yes. He visited 4 years. Read to her. Brought flowers. Sat by her side in silence. Even after he got married, he still came. Not as often, but he never forgot her. Every word sliced deeper. Evelyn looked at Amelia. This stranger, who had shaped her life without ever meeting her. The woman Daniel had loved. The woman he had mourned. The woman he had written to 4 years in secret pages. Evelyn touched the bed rail, tears falling. He carried you, she whispered, in a place I didn't even know existed. The nurse tried to soothe her, telling her Daniel had loved her too. But love didn't feel like comfort now. It felt like a question with no safe answer. Evelyn reached out and placed her hand gently over Amelia's. For the first time since Daniel died, she wasn't crying for him. She was crying for herself. The version of her who believed her marriage was whole, unaware that she had shared her husband's heart with a ghost. And as she sat there, whispering to a woman who would never wake, one truth settled painfully inside her. She had been living beside a man who had never stopped grieving someone else. And now, she would have to decide what to do with the pieces he left behind. The drive home was made of tears and headlights. Evelyn couldn't remember starting the car, couldn't remember the turn she took. Only the echo of the nurse's voice circling her mind. His fiancée was Amelia. When she finally walked into her living room, the silence felt like judgment. She threw Daniel's diary onto the table, and it flipped open as if it had been waiting for her. A page she hadn't read yet stared back, heavy with truth. Daniel had written, "I married a woman who is good, kind, gentle, but she doesn't know she's living beside a man who still carries a broken promise. One day, I hope to give her the love she deserves. I hope I become the man she thinks I am." The words folded her to the floor. She turned another page. Today I laughed with Evelyn. It felt strange. It felt wrong. It felt like healing. Tears hit the paper before she could stop them. Another entry. If Amelia wakes up, I don't know who I'll be anymore. Her chest caved. She clutched the diary to her heart and whispered, I wasn't enough for him, even when he tried. The next morning she returned to St. Clair's, not for comfort, but for truth. The nurse recognized her the moment she walked in and led her to a small break room, its walls worn from too many private paints. Ask, the nurse said, and Evelyn did. Did he ever stop loving her? The nurse took a long, careful breath. There are many kinds of love, she said. The love he had for Amelia was unfinished, but the love he had for you was earned. The words shook Evelyn. Earned, yes, the nurse said softly. The first love was lightning, the second was sunrise. Then came the truth Evelyn never expected. Toward the end, Daniel talked more about Evelyn than about Amelia. He visited less, not out of forgetting, but out of growing. The nurse recalled one visit clearly. 6 months ago, Daniel had sat by Amelia's bed and whispered, if you wake up now, you'll break 3 hearts, yours, mine, and hers. And then he said, Evelyn saved me. She doesn't even know it. Those words broke Evelyn open, and then, strangely, began to piece her back together. When she got home, She read Daniel's final entry, written just a week before he died. Some days I walk past her door and don't go in. Not because I forgot her, but because I'm finally remembering myself. Evelyn laughed softly. It reminds me of who I wanted to be before the accident. The entry ended abruptly. I don't know how to tell her that the woman I write to is becoming her. Evelyn pressed her forehead to the page, and for the first time she didn't cry from betrayal, but from understanding. I wasn't his replacement, she whispered. I was his healing. But even with this clarity, she knew one thing with certainty. Daniel wanted her to find something else. The truth wasn't finished. Evelyn didn't sleep that night. Her eyes stayed open through the long hours, even as her body begged for rest. Every time she closed them she saw two women. But by sunrise, one thought wouldn't leave her. Daniel's unfinished sentence. The woman I write to is becoming her. There was something he wanted her to find. Something she still didn't understand. She whispered into the quiet morning. Where did our real life begin? She searched her memories. Their wedding, their first apartment, holiday trips, even the kitchen where he had collapsed that terrible day. But each memory felt wrong, like doors that didn't lead anywhere. And then, one small, forgotten moment surfaced. A wooden bench, Regent's Park, their first kiss, not during dating, not during celebration, but weeks after their quiet courthouse wedding when they were too broke to celebrate anything at all. She grabbed the diary, the old photograph, her coat, and ran out the door. Regent's Park was colder than she remembered, the air sharp, the trees whispering above her like witnesses from another time. She found it, the bench, faded, crooked, still standing. What am I looking for? She whispered into the empty morning. Her hand slid beneath the seat and suddenly touched something hard, a small wooden box. Inside were three objects: a folded letter written in his unmistakable slanted handwriting, a tiny silver ring, and an ultrasound photo labeled Baby Heart 2011. Her heart stopped. She had miscarried that year, alone, too afraid to tell him. She had buried her pain to protect him. But he had known. He had always known. Her hands shook. She opened the letter. Daniel had written, "Truth is not a single story, Evelyn. It's the place where two heartbreaks learn how to breathe together." Her lips trembled as she continued. "I loved Amelia, but I came alive because of you. You think I never saw your tears." A tear dropped onto the paper. "The baby, I found out months later. The doctor told me. I didn't confront you because I finally understood why you kept it from me. You were trying to keep me from drowning completely." Her chest rose in painful, uneven breaths. Then came the lines that shattered her. "That day at the park, that kiss, was the day I knew I could love again. That's why this bench is where our real life began." And then the final truth. "I spent years writing to Amelia because I didn't know how to write to you without guilt. But recently, when I write to her, I find myself thinking about you instead. The woman I'm writing to doesn't look like her anymore. She looks like you." Evelyn pressed the letter to her chest, her sobs echoing through the cold park. The wooden box felt light in her hands, but her heart had never felt heavier. She had lost him twice now, once to death, once to truth. As she stood, wiping her tears, her phone buzzed. An unknown number appeared on the screen. She answered. A calm voice said, "Mrs. Hart, Amelia is awake." Evelyn stood outside the hospital door, with her hand hovering inches from the handle. 12 years of marriage, minus 1 year of believing she understood the man she loved, and 12 years of living beside a heart that had been split between memory and reality. Beyond this door was the woman who carried the part of him Evelyn never touched, and for the first time, she was ready to face it. She inhaled shakily and pushed the door open. Inside, sunlight poured gently across Amelia's face. The woman who had slept through more than a decade of life now sat awake, fragile, uncertain, searching for pieces of a past she couldn't remember. Evelyn stepped closer, her heart beat loud, but steady. Amelia studied her the way someone studies a dream they have recognized. Evelyn could see it, confusion, fear, and a quiet longing to understand the world she'd awakened into. Evelyn sat beside her, and in that small space between them, something shifted. It wasn't confrontation, it wasn't resentment, It was truth, slow, careful, fragile. Daniel had loved Amelia. That much would always be true. But love, Evelyn realized, was not a single unbroken line. It bent, it reshaped, it healed in ways even the heart couldn't fully explain. She thought about the diary, the pages, written to a woman who slept through the years, and the entries that slowly evolved into confessions meant for Evelyn instead. Love had changed its shape long before either woman opened their eyes to it. Gently, Evelyn placed the diary in Amelia's lap, offering not answers, but understanding. Amelia touched it like it pulsed with a heartbeat, a record of who she'd once been, and who Daniel had become without her. In that quiet moment, forgiveness hung between them. Not forgiveness for a betrayal, but for a human imperfection. Amelia trembled, admitting she no longer knew how to live a life she couldn't remember. Evelyn reached for her hand, steady and reassuring. "You don't owe the past anything," her presence seemed to say. "You are allowed to begin again." When Evelyn finally stood to leave, Amelia asked a question that had been sitting unsaid in the air. Did Daniel love her, truly? And Evelyn felt the truth rise gently, like something long held finally finding its place. Yes, maybe differently, but deeply. And for the first time in days, Evelyn smiled. Outside the hospital, the sky cracked open with morning light. She walked toward the river, the city breathing around her, her steps no longer weighed down by unanswered questions. She wasn't running from truth anymore. She was walking toward herself. She closed the diary for the last time, holding it for what it was, not a wound, not a threat, but a story that had finally come full circle. Some love stories don't end with a kiss, some end with clarity, some end with peace, and this one ended with all three.